Uh, Interesting, but unplausible. Leave the world behind. Now, you've heard me, bloviate for 15 years about issues and problems that could kill human beings. And when they make they do these movies trying to come up with a plausible way for mankind to do himself in. The problem is that they never, that's the obviousness of what is truly dangerous escapes them. It's almost like they don't want to make a movie that really scares people, that really says the truth. You can get that any day you want on the internet. There are lots of sites that can talk to you about melting ice, permafrost melting, plastic in our bloodstreams. Plastic basically, at the deepest part of the ocean, the highest mountain in the world is polluted with plastic. Most of Everest is polluted with human shit. They don't want to talk about that. Of course, when things start to warm up, that's going to ruin everything downhill from there that uses that as a water supply. You see, there are so many, it's staggering how many mistakes we've made. Okay? I'm looking at this, okay, so stage 1 is cut off all communications and travel. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. This fucking country's communications and transportation and movement network is so fucking convoluted and fucked up, okay, that there is no super hacker program that's gonna fucking do that. You have to be naive and not understand how fucked up the world is to believe that. Okay? Number 2, the big loud screeching noise. It's like, that wasn't explained. They do understand what makes noise, right? It's the movement of air, right? Striking a membrane, the saddle and the bones vibrate, tickles a little neural change, tells me what the sound sounds like. Simple shit. Never explained that. All the Teslas going to one place without any cars in between. Yet when they fan out, it's all random cars. But here, somehow, the Teslas found a spot where no other car was going to be on a major fucking highway, as the man described. It's just, you see, all their premises fall apart. And I try to be suspenseful, and I did enjoy the personal interaction part of it. I thought it was a good story. It was a good story. The premise, totally fucking ignorant. The scary things that are happening, totally fucking ignorant. They never explained, well, why were the deer? Okay, so the cyber attack caused all the deer to act like that? What? And the ending, okay, I can understand why they ended it that way, because they didn't have an ending. They didn't have an ending. They wanted to, quote, unquote, leave it to your imagination. The trouble is that I have an imagination, and I also understand the many ways humans have of getting rid of themselves right now. And the last one I'm fucking worried about is some cyber attack that's going to have boats running up on beaches and loud sounds coming from the sky, and you know what I mean? Basic understanding of how the world really works. Not fantasy, how it really works, okay? If the world was the way this works, we would all be running on the same systems. All of our water pumps would be uniform. All of our electrical systems would be able to interact with. I mean, everything would be all fucking tied together in a nice, neat bundle. The problem is it's not like that. Satellites. Okay. The dick race to destroy us now by these fucking billionaires who are thinking about having their internet money so they can have this monthly fee coming from a set number of people that equals profit, that equals let's do it. It's not a smart decision. It's a fucking monetary decision. Amazon wants their satellite internet network. Elon Musk wants his fucking satellite internet network. And let me tell you something, people. If you think that's the end of people that want a fucking satellite network, okay, you're wrong. This is the problem, okay? Our aerospace control of LEO has been lost a long time ago to commercial interest. LEO has become the property of money. 15 years ago when I talked about the Kessler syndrome, I predicted that the number of satellites that would be going into space would quadruple every year. I was so fucking far off. It's like times 25. I was so far off of the number that I bitch slapped myself for having a lack of imagination and the human greed, you know what I mean? When they did the supercomputer simulation, they said, okay, current satellite number of launches that will become dysfunctional through either they run out of fuel, they're damaged by cosmic rays, radiation, heat flux, whatever it is, okay? And is there enough fuel to move it out away into what they consider to be the junkyard? Okay? But LEO, well, you see, LEO's full of dead satellites too. Elon Musk lost like 109 satellites during one solar storm. The speed at which the Kessler syndrome could unfold makes other absolutes kind of makes them move to the back of my head. Methane. You see, they don't count methane in right now in climate models, because if they did, the world would all at once shit their fucking pants at what the predictions would say. Got to remember, methane is 25 times as effective as a greenhouse gas. Okay? The number when they put it in the supercomputer came out 1, which means if that system was left to run, okay? Now, they didn't give the time parameter. They didn't say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, okay? But I remember hearing that the maximum was 50 years. So had nothing happened, had no one learned how to deorbit or capture or eliminate satellites, that from the 1980s, it would be 50 years before we started having collisions. And guess what? Here we are. We've had 2 collisions now. One in 2019, one in 2020. 2 collisions. Iridium and Cosmos came together, and those clouds, because they were traversing this way, okay, created thousands of other particles. Thousands of other particles. Those are now circling the orbit right now. They're still going around the Earth, but some of those particles because of inertia that was applied to those particles at impact. Some slowed down during that impact, and others were deflected into higher orbits. In other words, energy was added to that particle. And so what you get is a slowly but surely expanding field of garbage that is going around and around and around the planet. Now, at this time, the band of material that goes around the Earth is almost complete. In other words, that section, that tube in that orbit for those particles is now impassable to other objects. We've had another one. So that means there's two of these bands of material that are now circling the planet. Do you hear about this in the news, by the way? I'm just kind of curious if you've heard about this in the news. Every now and again, if you do a thing on the Kessler syndrome, what they'll do is they'll run you through what happens, and then they kind of leave you hanging because they don't explain to you that a supercomputer predicted that if we didn't do anything about it, it was going to happen. That was the outcome. Yes, it's going to happen. It's unpreventable, and it is just a matter of time. And that time limit started at 50 years. So we really didn't have to worry about anything for 50 years. But at that 50-year mark, we were supposed to start having impacts. Lo and fucking behold, Iridium and Cosmos come together. Dead satellites, low Earth orbit, and now we have two bands of material flying around. We've already had to move the space station numerous times for objects that were the size of my iPad. You've seen the bullet holes, like the one that's in the Canadian arm joint, the bullet hole. It looks just like a fucking bullet hole. The holes in the solar panels, because you see the solar panels are so big that the odds of them catching something pretty high. You know what I mean? It's not like dancing through the raindrops, but it's like having a raindrop falling, maybe, let's just say 100 raindrops every day fall in your town. What's the odds of one of them landing on the top of your head? Pretty damn slim. Right? Especially if you live too far away, like if you're in a higher orbit. But in Leo now, think about it. What's the odds of, you see, sooner or later, you're going to get lucky. And that's what the computer said. Sooner or later, you're going to have these satellites that are going to start coming together. And as soon as those satellites come together, that is the beginning of the process. Now, after that, the computer at that time in the 80s was not capable of giving a reliable further prediction about what was going to happen. But it did say it was absolutely going to, that within 50 years, we were absolutely going to see dead satellites colliding, and we see it. That's a pretty scary fucking thought. You see, I've always known, you know, the simple truth is always the one that's gonna fucking, you know, get you. People have no idea how much material is in space. If I take my iPad and I go to space, there's an application called SkyView. Yes, yeah, it can have, okay, so now this has access to my camera. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my phone out of the holder here. Actually, you know what? I can just go like this. You see? This is what SkyView does. Let me go turn this light off over here, since I placed some importance in this. And let me change this to my home. There we go. Darken it up a little bit. You see, this is my camera looking out into space. See that? That's my camera looking, that's where the planets are right now, wherever, which way I'm pointed. And it will tell me what the orbit is. See that? You see that thing right next to it right there? See that thing, that long thing swinging around? That's a fucking rocket body. That's a piece of garbage. That's a piece of garbage, that rocket body right there. Now, I cannot tell you how many fucked up rocket bodies there are. Okay, let me see. Okay, I'm going to take a screenshot. I don't know if I'm going to get that in there or not. Okay, so here's a picture. Done, save the photos. Okay, sorry it's taking so long, but this is the best way for me to show you. Okay, you see, that's a rocket body right there. And I can see its orbit. Why does it do that? All photos. Why does it do that? I hate it. I fucking Apple, okay? But that rocket body right there, that's just, you see all the blue dots? See all the blue dots in this picture? Those are all rocket bodies the size of school buses. Every one of those blue dots that you see is another rocket body traveling around the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour, and they're the size of a fucking school bus. Now, what happens when you have two school buses come together at 17,500 miles an hour? You could have impacts 24,000 mile per hour's worth of energy exerted into those objects. I suggest you get this application. This application is kind of scary. Okay, I'll let it access my camera. Okay, so this is a phone app, is what it is. No, I don't want augmented reality. Let me see. No, never ask again. Okay. Done. Okay, let's widen that out. Let's go to satellites. Okay, so this is cosmos debris. That green line you're looking at, that's the cosmos debris right there. That's the path it's taking. You can follow it all the way around the planet. Okay, Cosmos 2251. And then the iridium debris is going around the same way. Okay, so every one of those green dots that you see, that's another dead Cosmos satellite. They are in traversing orbits. In other words, they're not all going around like this. Some are going this way, this way, that way, that way. Kind of like the unpredictable path of an electron around a nucleus. It's sad. There's no, this is CZ3b debris. Will be at its highest point in the sky tomorrow evening. So I can actually go out in the evening and look at that debris right there. It'll tell me where it's going to be in the sky, where I can hold my iPad up and it'll say right there. I suggest you get these applications, not just because they're they show the horrifying truth of really what's going on in space by these irresponsible companies, but it's also educational. Okay, I can go to any of these satellites, Delta II rocket body, Iridium-33 debris, SL-3 rocket body, Epsilon rocket body, SL-14 rocket body, Iridium-33 debris. This is the debris pattern from the Iridium satellite. You have Cosmos and Iridium. Okay, well, 2 more have already collided, and I was looking for those the other day. Here's Cosmos 2251 debris, but it's not showing a path. This is what's going to get us. It's not some science fiction fucking, you know what I mean? Again, we're too fucking disorganized to destroy by using an organized attack. That's the fucking fact of the matter. It's the truth, okay? Go to any fucking school in America and look at the material that they're using, and you're going to find it's different everywhere because they need an ignorant populace. You see, that's simple. Now, those 4 satellites, first you had 2, then you had 4, then you're going to have 16. Then it's going to start to have a linear rate in how many satellites get struck by debris. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to get thousands of particles from each collision, because it doesn't work that way. What happens is you damage or destroy the satellite's ability to use, if it has one, its own deorbiting capability, or you impart inertia to that object and change its trajectory around the planet. And now you have something that's, well, we got it all fucking planned out. If you could see the scope that they see under Cheyenne Mountain where they're tracking all these debris, you see they can only track it down to an object about this big, about the size of a grapefruit. But at 20,000 miles an hour, if you had an object the size of a dime going 60 miles an hour that weighed as much as a locomotive at 60 miles an hour and it struck a brick wall, the locomotive, all of its energy compacted into an area the space of a dime, striking a concrete wall. It would be like there's nothing there, right? That's the type of energy we're talking about for these small particles. Wait. You're talking about guns are moving at thousands of feet a second, and we're talking about shit that's moving kilometers per second. Okay? Factors of 100. When you start damaging satellites with these smaller debris, they then become unpredictable and changing around. And next thing you know, you have school bus size objects coming together, okay? And if depending on the angle of incidence when they strike, okay? If they strike head on like this, passing through one another perfectly, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of pieces of material. The paint will literally become worse than a 50 caliber bullet. A fleck of paint that big will be worse than a 50 caliber bullet. Flying uncontrollable through space in its own fucking orbital trajectory that it's gained from this impact. The fucking paint. All of those blue dots I showed you were, imagine rockets that launch satellites into space. That's the entire lower stage. is flying around the fucking earth. And you see, I think, and I don't think, I understand completely that if there is ever a conflict started between the major powers, let's say United States, China, you know, the first thing they're going to do is attack. We're all going to attack each other's satellites. We have anti-satellite weapons following around their satellites. They have anti-satellite weapons. Almost all of these are kinetic devices anyway, following around their satellites. And what will happen in the very first minutes of a conflict will be a destruction of GPS satellites, communication satellites, everything that they talk about here, the first step. Destroy communications, okay? But it's not going to happen through some fucking cyber attack. Okay? Our systems are too fucking unfucking cooperative with one another. We don't have a smart fucking electrical system. We have a stupid electrical system. Okay? No one fucking cyber attack's going to do any of that shit. Oh, we got into one place in Michigan in some little fucking rock nowhere town and fucked with their pump. Whoopie fucking do. Okay, that is a big goddamn difference than shutting the water off for everybody. It's almost fucking laughable. Here, fear this, okay? Watch the cat juggler. Do not pay attention to the man behind the curtain. The Kessler syndrome is something that everyone should be afraid of right now. We should be telling these companies who want to put these satellites in space, okay, that you're responsible. You're responsible for, if you have a satellite fail and you cannot deorbit that satellite, it costs you $50 million. Oh, that's some fucking incentive for the commercial industry. You see, as long as we don't do that, they're going to leave these goddamn boosters in space because it's cheap. They don't want to have to save the fuel. That's payload. They don't want fuel and a motor to turn around and come back to Earth the way the Tesla base does now, the Tesla main. See, they come back. They're reusable, but that's not how it always was. Westinghouse, all the CBS, all these DirecTV, they all have fucking satellites up there. They're going to be dead. And as of right now, there's no law that says they're responsible for any damage caused by that satellite. We as citizens of the United States did not make them do that when they decided to put that up there with our permission and to charge us for the shit they're transmitting, okay? Not one time did they ever sign anything saying they were responsible for any damages that satellite might cause when it goes bad. Pretty fucking convenient, if you ask me, if you're a telecommunications company. As far as I know of, all of the Tesla satellites have deorbiting devices. And if you're in LEO and you're going the right speed, there's still a little friction. And sooner or later, you're going to fall out of orbit, okay? But you have to remember this. These collisions cause objects to go into higher orbits. It might take it 5 years to travel up high enough to reach this other satellite up here that's separated. It's like when one of the rules when you're flying an airplane is, okay, from 0 to 180 degrees, you fly even number 1,000, and from here down, from 180 down here to 360, you fly 1,000 plus 500, odd plus 500. Okay, they have a separation thing to keep airplanes from flying on the same fucking level, but they don't do that in space. They were thinking about the big sky. It's a big sky. The whole mental attitude of these guys at the time was, it's big sky, and we don't have to worry about it. But the truth of the matter is that the predictions have come true. And if the prediction continues to come true, we're fucked. You see, once this starts, it's a ramping up. Once it starts, it will be too late to go up and grab shit because it'll be too fucking dangerous. We will have to get people out of the space station, back onto Earth quickly. We will have to, as fast as we can, find ways to erect transmission towers. Most likely new technologies like lasers and things like that, and fiber optic cables in the ground. Those would all become primary fucking assets. I would invest my money in those, okay? And then the worst possible thing is that they will grind this circle around the Earth of orbiting debris will become the size of sand particles. And that is going to reflect back the majority of the sunlight and the solar energy we get from the sun, and the Earth is going to turn into a fucking snowball. You see, that's why when I talk about World War III, I don't give a fuck what kind of bunker you have. I don't care how many miles deep you are or how much food you got stuck away. I don't care what kind of survivalist mentality you have, okay? You are not going to make it. No one is going to fucking make it through the next snowball. The Earth has done it before, usually because microorganisms have changed our atmosphere, okay? Right now, we're warming it up, but if this event happens, we're fucked. When you see that we're having one collision every month, it's over. Pack your bags, love your family, do whatever, you know what I mean? Because within a number of years after that starts, we're fucked. And it's guaranteed. This is not a fantasy. It's not something it's not my opinion. It's not, this is just the real facts of what's really going on. And then, of course, science is going to come save us, just like plastic. Oh, someone's going to come along to find a microorganism that eats plastic. You know what I mean? They have these fucking companies come forth with all this fucking smegma, trying to convince us, oh, don't worry, we've got 100 years, we got 50 years, 100 years. They love that fucking term. 50 years, 50 years. They love that. They'll find a way to... No, they won't. They won't. By the time the event happens, temperatures in your fucking town are going to be minus 90 in Florida. Minus 80, minus 70, minus 50 at the equator. Livable with protection, but the food chain, of course, won't exist, and the Earth will go through another one of its cycles, and another great extinction will happen, caused by the ignorance of fucking man, just like it was caused by the natural processes of microorganisms. That's fucked up. It really is. See, I think about my great-granddaughter. My granddaughter's going to be able to live a reasonable life and learn enough things and become wise enough and have a lesson that's worth taking to the other side. But my great-granddaughter, she's so young. She's going to be, she's still going to be a young person. She's still going to be 50 or so when this shit comes down. It bothers me. I could talk about the methane right now that is blowing holes in the Arctic. That in 2017, when I did my video over there on my PC, when Larson A separated, and I got in a discussion about this fucking Woods Hole Institute scientist didn't know his head from a fucking hole in the ground, because he talked about this was a collapse, that this was a sinkhole. And I was shocked that a man who supposedly works at Woods Hole Institute couldn't tell a fucking sinkhole from a blowhole. That you don't have material blown out hundreds of fucking yards from the hole that's 90 feet by 100 fucking feet around. That when you have a sinkhole, the edges are clean. Everything falls in. Okay, these holes are fucking gigantic. And how much energy does it take to blow a piece of the tundra out of the fucking earth that's a plug, that's 80 feet across by 100 feet long. How much energy does it take to blow that plug of fucking earth up out of the tundra that's frozen? That's how much methane was pushing on it. Now, in 2017, when I started my first video over there, there was one, okay? And then by 2020, when I did a video, there was 1,800, and now there's 3,600. 3,600 of these blowholes. Not to mention the karst lakes that are forming everywhere that are putting out 60 to 150 tons of methane into the atmosphere every 24 hours. Instead of blowing out a hole, these lakes form from melting permafrost. And then the lakes start seeping down, and it's like a relief valve. So it doesn't build up pressure and blow a giant hole out with material, but what it does is it starts creating this big sinkhole like this that gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it allows the methane to bubble up. They're karst lakes. You see, some days, like I say, I wish I could just wake up and fucking not know a lot. And I'm kind of glad that the YouTube AI doesn't send this to millions of people, because I don't want to scare people. I don't want to bum people out, but you know, that's what happens on this channel. This is my way of getting it off my chest, because I know there are people out there that understand exactly what I'm talking about. Those are the person I'm commiserating with them, okay? They don't take into account methane and the plastics. We have plastic in our blood now that they said every human, as we're consuming food nowadays, okay, that every month we consume a credit card's worth of plastic. Now, I don't know if I believe that, but that's what some of the statistics are saying. And even if we cut that by a factor of 10, eating 1/10 of a credit card every fucking 30 days worth of plastic is just blows my mind. What are we doing to our bodies? What for the future? No wonder reproductive rates are dropping, because nature knows when something's not viable. Okay, thanks for listening to me, you guys. You see, there are so many ways that we're going to kill ourselves. This kind of movie, I kind of chuckled. I really liked the human interaction, but the premise of it, I just kind of laughed, because I went, boy, you know, they could have just picked this subject, and they could have backed it up with scientific numbers, and in the end, they would have had to say, there wouldn't be a disclaimer. They would have to say, this is based on actual events that are going to happen. Holy fuck, what kind of ending to a movie would that be? This is not a fictional story. This has been, but supercomputers have told us this is going to happen. Do one on blowholes where populations of cities are being wiped out by methane and other gases because of this melting permafrost. The entire upper part of the fucking planet is permafrost. You could pick any city in there and come up with a sci-fi story about actual fucking problems that actually are happening every day. You know what I mean? No, it's some mysterious force. Beep! I mean, I kind of cringed. You know what I mean? This is why I think I stopped writing, because it was depressing. Every subject that I picked, the human mentality, the human animal let me down. And I came to the conclusion that what I was writing about was the end of mankind. I talk about, okay, so what would happen if aliens came tomorrow and gave us a machine that allowed us to control matter on the level of muon fields, quarks, so forth, that we could control the smallest of particles, because shit, shinola, fucking car wax, water, fucking steak, whatever, okay? When you take it down to that level, it's all the same stuff. And as soon as you can control that, nothing has value but life. Would that save our planet? Or would there be some type of corporate control type of attempted takeover of that technology before it could reach the public so that only they had it? Because you see, De Beers controls the price of diamonds by saying, okay, well, we're going to just keep all these diamonds in a warehouse, not let anybody have any, which means only these are accessible, and that's what makes them valuable. What if everything was like that? Because they took this technology and kept it for their own. Wouldn't that be the most ultimate evil? And I thought about writing a book about that, but I thought, no, because it would get out. It would get out, just like the UFO. You see, the truth is out there, and it's right in your face if you know where to look. The trouble is there's so much other muckety-muck bullshit out there, kind of like the Alizondos of the fucking world, that want to produce this whole other scenario about UFOs instead of the truth. You see, if we had that machine, that secret would never be kept. It would, if it was given to us by an outside force, that's how you would eliminate the human race. You just give every country this technology to create anything from nothing, or to turn all your garbage into usable food, homes, whatever you need. Nobody would need anyone anymore. Who's going to wash that guy's yacht? His fucking money's not worth anything because I'll just ask for a chicken sandwich. The farmer's out of business. The doctor's out of business. I could just ask for a vaccine, okay? The jeweler's definitely out of business, no matter what it is. You see, every business that you could think of is no longer functioning. The entire, and I mean 100% of the capitalistic system that we've developed becomes obsolete overnight because nobody needs anybody if you have one of those machines. So they would be controlled, and that, again, always leads down a dark path. Pretty soon someone sneaks in and says, I'd like 1,000 megaton nuclear bomb, please. See? Sooner or later, because we're just not ready. We're not fucking ready to have a machine that gives us everything. Such an immature species, huh? Take a look at the Kessler syndrome. There are a few good YouTube things on the Kessler syndrome that'll at least show you. I have the 3D version, which is really fucking cool watching it in 3D. You know what I mean? And then I want you to go look up these karst lakes and the blowholes. And then you look at the size of the blowholes. Think in your mind how much methane and power of built up gas it took to blow that fucking plug out of there where that material just went flying like coming out of a volcano. Okay? Go think about that. Because that's a lot of fucking energy.